the topic today is swag, and that will probably be the last time I use that word because it just doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. It might be because I'm over 30. So I'm going to try really hard not to use it again. But basically what it means, and sounds a lot cooler when you say it, is the influence that you have. Now that's probably not the definition that you're familiar with. Okay? You probably have a bunch of different ideas going through your mind. But essentially the idea here is it's who you are, how you act, and ultimately what happens as a result of that. And that's your influence. I think the reason that Luke asked me to do this is that my life goal is to be a man of influence. Now that may sound kind of crazy because some of you are probably thinking, well, my life goal is to be a doctor. My life goal is to be a lawyer or make the league or whatever it is that your life goal is. Okay? And I had goals like that. At one point, my life goal was to make the Olympics. Okay? Now that might sound crazy, but I'm Canadian, and it's easier to make the Olympics for another country than the United States because there's only 30 million people in Canada. And I was actually the second-ranked pole vaulter in all of Canada when I was in college. So I only had to beat one more guy to make the Olympics for Canada, which nobody asks you what country was it for, right? Like if I could have shown the tattoo that had the rings, that would have been pretty sweet. But I realized really early on after thinking that okay, so what? That would really mean, in the end, nothing. I mean, it would sound cool, it'd be a nice little bragging story, but at the end of the day, that would have meant nothing because there's no influence there. There's nothing significant accomplished in the lives of people if you make the Olympics. Because I would have probably made it and then placed dead last in all the countries in the world, and that would have been humiliating. So I shifted my goals in life, my focus in life, and I'm not sure where this came from, but for some reason I decided I wanted to become the most influential person that I could possibly be. I don't know what your goals are. I don't know what your desires are. But tonight we're going to talk about 3 things that I think are absolutely critical if you want to have influence, if you want to be successful, if you want to accomplish significance in your life. Now, I have never met someone that said, when they find out that that was my life goal, well, you know what, that's nice for you, but I'm actually interested in being insignificant. Nobody says that, right? Everybody wants to be significant. Everybody wants to have some kind of influence. So I want everybody to take their phone out right now. And everybody's phone, most people's phone have a little note-taking app. Okay, if you don't have a phone, that's all right. If you have a notebook or a journal, we encourage you to bring your Bibles, whether it's on your phone or in paper. We encourage you to take notes. The best way to learn something, be a little bit better today than you were yesterday, is to write something down. So I want you to write 3 words down that we're going to be talking about today, and then hopefully in the next 20, 25 minutes, you're going to hear something that's really interesting about each of those words. I want you to write them down in your notes. Okay? First word is needy. Needy. The next word is accepted. Hello? Oh, there we go. All right. Needy, accepted, and the last one is changed. If you want to be significant, if you want to be successful, right now picture the most successful person that you would like to be like. Whether it's a pro athlete, a singer, a politician, a successful businessman, the richest person in the world, think about whoever that is. They are all 3 of those things. They're needy, they're accepted, and they're changed. And that probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but as we go through this, it will. Okay, about 3 months ago when the iPhone 4S came out, I don't know how long ago that was, I had to figure out a way to convince my wife that it was good to spend $300 more to get a phone. Because I already had an iPhone 4 and I just wanted that little S. Does anybody know what the S stands for? Stupid. Siri. Stands for Siri. So basically the way it works, if you don't know this, and I think everybody does, is I press a little button, and it says, what can I help you with? Now I'm going to ask it a question. What time does Brandon start tonight? Now it's going to think.
The time is 7:52 p.m.
Okay, so if I was using this to get to Brandon, I would be late. Well, here's what I pitched to my wife. I said, listen, this is going to make me more influential, because my wife knows that's my life goal. So I said, what I can do if I get the iPhone 4S is I can talk to it on the way home from work and on the way to work, and that will get me more of my job done, and then I'll be able to spend more time at home with my wife and my new baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, and she's awesome. She did a push-up today, and it was so cool. I got to tell you, it was awesome. Like this, she's like this long, and she did a push. Yeah, she can't crawl, but she can do push-ups. So, no, but so that was my argument, was that, hey, if I can just, you know, be more productive, I'll get more time with you, honey. This is gonna be awesome, and I need the iPhone 4S. What I found out really quickly is I get a lot of crappy answers from it. Okay, now I'm still like excited about having a fancy phone and everything. It's cool, but a lot more times than not, I ask it a question. It says, "Sorry, Jason, I can't help you with that," and I'm like so pissed off because it takes so long to ask the question, let it think, give me the wrong answer. So I thought I needed it, but in the end, I actually only wanted it. Okay, sometimes we don't actually understand or know what we really need. Let me tell you another story. 3 years ago, I think. I work in Greece, but I live right down the road from here, so I have about 25-minute drive every day. And you know that little sticker? Who drives? You know that little sticker that they put on when it says you had an oil change? And it tells you the next time you need the oil change, right? So I drive this really old Civic, so it's like 170,000 miles or something like that. And the sticker said, at 171,000 miles, you need to go get the oil change again, okay? So I got to about 171,000 miles, and I'm like, seems like it's going okay. I could probably go to 172. And so I went to 172, and I just kind of forgot about it, and probably got around to like 176 or something like that, and I went way past the recommended thing, and I kept saying, man, I got to get this oil change. You know, it's like 25 bucks. I don't want to waste the money, but I got to get it done because I hear it's what you're supposed to do. They keep telling me that. And then I'm driving home, and I hear this little knock-knock sound in the front. And it's like, not like a horse. That sounded like a horse. It wasn't like a horse, okay? I wasn't like that. All right, let me try this. No, it didn't sound like that either. All right. But it was a knocking sound. Who's heard a knocking sound in your car before? Okay, get your oil changed. What happened was, some kind of piston or something, I don't know mechanics at all, but it had busted a little bit, and it was like making some kind of knocking sound. So my brilliant idea is, I'm going to drive it now 5,000 miles past when I should have turned it in. I'm going to drive it to the mechanics. And there's like smoke starting to steam out of my engine. I'm like, oh, this is not good. I just hope. Now, I had this thought go through my mind that it was like, I should stop and get it towed. Now everybody's laughing. More money. You're thinking more money. But so I'm very intelligent. I did not stop and get it towed, and then I heard a hum, and then I didn't hear any more sounds, and my car slowly drove to the side of the road, and yeah, I seized my engine, which cost me like $1,800. That is a lot more than $25 for an oil change. I thought that I did not need the oil change, but I really did. I thought I needed this Siri, but I did not. Here's my point. We actually have no idea what we need and what we don't. This is like a human condition. For some reason, you have done a ton of stupid things in your life. I know this because you're human. And because I'm human, I've done a ton of stupid things. And I've only told you a few of them. I could spend my whole 25 minutes telling you stupid stories about me wasting things because I think I know what I need or what I don't need, and I don't. And here's what I'm here to tell you today. You do not know what you need. You are needy. We are all needy. I got some pictures up here. Can we put the first chart up? Okay. This is the official flow chart of cliques in high school. Okay, well, it's not official, but somebody made it and said it was. Now, I would like you to find on this box where you think you are. I know we got some band kids. Who does band? Wow, we don't have that many band kids. All right, do we have any athletes? Yeah, there we go. Athletes are always the most excited about it. Do we got any skaters? Skaters? Yeah, a few. Do we got any gamers? Gamers? Do we have anybody that thinks they're actually not on one of these things? Okay, if somebody beside you has their hand up, just tell them which box they are, because everybody's in one of these boxes, okay? All right. Okay, next slide, next picture. Who watches Glee? Would I be in trouble if I said you were all the nerd box? No? Okay, I watched one episode of Glee. Does the L stand for loser there? I can't quite figure that out. Okay. Look at that, all those boxes. They're also a different clique, right? Glee represents everybody. I think what they think is then they can get everybody to watch it. I watched one episode. They're all like crying at the beginning. At the end, they're singing and hugging each other. And that's just not real. So I never watched it again. But I hear a lot of people watch it. Here's the point. Whether it's Glee, whether it's cliques, you are all walking through the halls of your high school. And I know this because not only did I walk the halls of high school, I have spent more time in high school than anybody here. Does anybody know why? Because I'm a principal. I'm a high school principal. Where's my Athena people? That's kind of awkward right now. All right. All right. So I spent time in high school. Now, when I was in high school at your age, I was trying to find one of those boxes that would make sense for me. I was athletic, but I didn't really fit in there. I was a bit of a nerd, but I didn't really like to be a nerd. I wasn't fitting in comfortably anywhere, but I always wanted to be fitting really well somewhere. And every single one of you do not want to admit it, but every single one of you wants to fit really comfortably into a social group. And there are a few of you who say, no, I'm with everybody, and you're lying, okay? That's just not true. Everybody wants to be accepted. Everybody wants to fit in. That's a human need. And you will continue to want to fit in and be accepted until you can get to the place where you find acceptance in the only place where you can be fulfilled. Now, there's a verse I asked them to put up here. Actually, we're going to look at a bunch of verses today. But can you put that first verse up? Romans 3:23. And I probably mention this verse almost every time I talk because I think it's one of the most important verses in the Bible. I want you all to read it with me. All right? For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Maybe a year ago, we did a series called Fail. How every single one of us have failed to live up to what God planned for us. Now that falling short of the glory of God, the God of the universe intended for you, whatever social group you're pursuing, he intended for you to be considered a part of his glory. That's amazing. The God who made everything, he made you, he made the sun, the moon, the stars, everything. He made it all. Whatever's your favorite thing, he made it. It's his idea. The coolest things in the world, his idea. That's his glory. And he wants you to be like that. He designed this world to accept you. And here's the thing. We all want to pretend like we're not needy. That's the whole point of these cliques. If you can get into the cool group, if you can get into whatever, then you can be like, I can pretend I'm not needy. I don't need anything. You are needy because you're designed, like that verse said, to be a representation of his glory. But you know what? You screwed up somewhere along the line. And so did I. We were created to be perfect. We were created in God's image, in his glory, and yet we screwed it up somewhere along the line because we did something that didn't align with that. The message of Jesus, the message of the Father's house, is that that is your purpose. That's what makes you full, complete. That's what makes you accepted in God, is that it's all about him and him being in you. But somewhere along the line, we screw it up and we get needy. Now, a lot of people like to think, well, yeah, the God thing is cool, but I'm working it my way. Okay? Another verse. John 14:6. Read this one with me. Jesus said to him, I am the way. Oh, we got to start that over again. This is a two-way thing. All right, with me. Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. There's only one way to find your fulfillment, your acceptance, to fulfill that need, and that is through Jesus Christ. There is no other way. You can try as hard as you want to be good, to earn it yourself, to do something that makes you deserve it, it will never work out for you. I think that's what drives all these social cliques. Is we think like, okay, if I work really, really hard at my solo, then I'll be like the best person in the band, and now I'll be accepted, I'll be wanted. Or maybe we're like, I'm going to be at the gym for another hour after everybody else and take more jump shots, and then I'm going to be the one the coach calls on. I'm going to be the hero, and everybody's going to want to be like me. It does not matter how hard you try. You'll never be able to find fulfillment, acceptance. I have tried just about everything, okay? And I'm not that old, but I'm a lot older than you guys. And I can tell you from my life experience, I have tried just about everything to come up with some kind of fulfillment and some kind of purpose, and it all falls flat. And the reason it falls flat is that I was designed to reflect God's glory and nothing else. That is my only purpose. And it is only when I'm reflecting God's glory that I am fulfilled, that I am happy, that I'm content. Everything else is like a shadow of that. So the first thing is that we're all needy, man. We are all needy. Everybody say, I'm needy. Louder, I'm needy. So you should be writing something in your notes about the fact that we are all needy people. Every single one of us. We try so hard to hide it, but here's the deal. We are all desperately needy. We got issues. Every one of you have issues. If you don't think you do, ask your closest friend what your issues are. They'll tell you. You probably won't be friends anymore. Okay? So just accept that you're needy. If you're like me, you are needy. All right. The next point, accepted. Here's the awesome thing about Jesus. I got to talk about Jesus every single chance I get, because Jesus, this is amazing. The God of the universe takes on a human body, comes and lives with us, and you know what? He met with people from every one of those social groups. Can you put that, that map of all the different groups up there? That little click flow chart? All right. If Jesus was here today, okay, and if they had like video games back in the Bible times or whatever, okay, he would have hung out with every single one of these groups. He would have accepted them all. He would have accepted everybody, not just the ones that we think are, those people are cool. They got it, okay? He wouldn't just accept the orchestra kids, the popular kids, the athletes. He'd accept the druggies. He'd accept the dropouts. He'd accept the gangsters. He'd accept the nerds. He'd accept everybody. I'm going to read you a list of the different people in the Bible that Jesus really liked. Now, some of these people did some messed up crap. You probably have some messed up stuff that you hide that you don't tell anybody about. Something that happened a few years ago that if everybody knew, they'd be disgusted. You probably got something in your life somewhere that's messed up. And nobody knows but you and that person, or you and maybe nobody else. Maybe a few people know it's embarrassed you and you had to move to another school. But you got some messed up stuff. And the Bible is all about people who are messed up. Listen to this. There's a woman that Jesus hung out with. Everybody else told him not to. She had got divorced 7 times. She called a Samaritan woman. I'm going to read you the verse references in case one of these people jumps out at you. All right? And you want to read more about that. That's John 4. There's a lady named Mary Magdalene. She was a prostitute. Okay? And that's Luke 8. And you might say, hey, I never did it for money. If you did it for acceptance, if you did it to be cool, if you did it because you were pressured or because the guy had some money, that's the same thing. You're selling your body for something. If you're, as a guy, you're doing it because everyone else around you is doing it and you just give it that, and you know, it does not matter. You give yourself away for anything, does not have to be money. That's prostitution. So just before you write it off and go, oh, well, I'm not like Mary Magdalene. Jesus hung out with her, thought she was cool, wanted to spend time with her, wanted to change her. And if you are in that boat and you've given yourself away and you shouldn't have for something that wasn't worth it, then you probably need to write down, and maybe you want to wait a little because you probably don't want to admit this to other people, but you need to check out Luke chapter 8. Okay? Next one, Paul. He wrote like half the Bible, but the first part of his life, he was killing all the Christians he could find. He murdered people. Now you might go, I never killed anybody. I hope so. Or I hope not. Whoa. No, that was not good. Unless it was in Call of Duty, right? I hope that you didn't do that. All right. But seriously, the Bible says if you look at someone with hatred, you are the same as a murderer. That's intense. I see that. I see people killing people with their eyes all the time in the halls of my school. And if you are being honest with yourself, you might want to check out Acts 9 about Paul. That is some stuff that may touch home for you if you're a person who deals with anger. You hate some people. But you know what? Jesus loved him, pursued him. Jesus made himself revealed to Paul. And Paul writes half the New Testament because he's accepted. God doesn't care that he killed people. He loved Paul. He accepted Paul. Paul changes the world. That's pretty cool. Matthew was a guy that was cheating and stealing money from all kinds of people. Okay? He'd be a guy you might want to check out. Peter, okay, one of the, biggest names in the Bible. He was just dumb. He did he denied Jesus. That might be you. People might come up to you at school and say, "Hey, you go to Father's house, right? Are you one of those Jesus freaks?" And then you're like, "No, man. I've been a couple times, but it's not my thing." That's exactly the same as Peter. And you know what? Jesus didn't deny him and say, "You know what? Screw you, Peter. You reject me. You're done." He doesn't do that. He loves Peter. He accepts Peter, and he changes the world through Peter. So your thing might be that you let God down once in a while when God gave you an opportunity to talk about him. But here's the deal. Jesus will accept you. I got a whole list of people. I'm going to run out of time. But here's the point. Every one of those people had to accept that Jesus was accepting them. That sounds a little silly. You might want to write that down, though. Every one of them had to accept that Jesus was accepting them. Some of you are not willing to accept that. Some of you are saying, I'm going to do it by myself. I don't need any help. All kinds of songs about, it's all about me. It's all about my life, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, and it goes way back. That's not new, okay? That has been like part of humanity. We always want to do it myself. Every other religion in the world is about doing it yourself. It's about what can I do? I can say some Hail Marys. I can spin a prayer wheel. I can bow to Mecca. I can do whatever. But none of it can work. Because we saw that verse earlier. It says the only way to solve this problem is through Jesus Christ. There is no other way. It's actually the easiest way. And yet, we're so freaking arrogant and proud, we don't want to do it. We want to do it. I don't need God. I got myself together. You don't. You're needy. But that's okay because Jesus accepts you if you're willing to be humble. Now, I just read you a list of people. Outcast, prostitute, murderer, cheater, thief, liar. I could go down the list of all these different things. So one of them's you. Maybe you're arrogant. I don't know what your issue is. But you have an issue just like I do. So I want you to think, which one of those are you? There are a couple people that Jesus went to try to accept. They rejected him. You might remember the story of the people that were selling, trying to make money in the temple. He goes and chucks their tables all over the place. He makes a whip and he beats the crap out of them as they leave the temple. Okay? The Pharisees, the super religious people, they say they didn't need Jesus. Hey, Jesus would accept these people, but they were not willing to accept that fact, and he destroys them. So it's like, yes, Jesus will accept you, but if you don't accept him, you got nothing left at the end of your life. I mean, that's not a gamble, if I'm you, that I want to take. Not a gamble I want to take. Every one of you is needy of Jesus. Every one of you is accepted by him if you humble yourself. And the last point is that if you truly know Jesus, you will be changed by Jesus. And that is the evidence that you have accepted that he accepts you. If you are not changed, if you come to church at Brandon and you sing up at the front and, yeah, Maria, Adam, you're awesome. I want to worship, got my hands up in the air. But then you go and you're no different. It doesn't matter what you do right here. Okay, you may be front row worshiper. It don't matter. You may write all the notes down that I'm suggesting you write. But at the end of the day, you go back to school, you're no different. It makes no difference. If you're not changed, it ain't real. And everybody can smell the fake. Everybody can. If you're not changed, it ain't real. That might be a good one to write it down. All right. So we're coming up to Easter. So I actually said to my wife, I said, I want to find one story that has all these different people responding to Jesus and being changed. And my wife goes, the story of Jesus' birth. Now I'm like, oh, duh, Christmas, that'd be perfect. Why didn't I think of that? It's one of the reasons why God gave me a wonderful wife. If you know her, you understand. She's the most amazing woman in the world. She's probably going to watch. I love you, Jenny. Okay. All the girls are like, oh, and the guys are like, that's messed up. All right. So The story of Jesus, we have heard it a million times, but we always focus in on the little baby, and it's cute, and it's awesome, and it's Jesus, and it is awesome. Today I want to just go through a bunch of verses real fast, and I want to look at how do people respond to and are changed by Jesus. This is amazing, because Jesus is a little baby. I mean, all babies do is cry. I know, I just had one. They cry and they poop, and then they eat, and then they do it again and again and again. And that's it. But people came to God born as a little baby and are completely changed. People from every clique in society back then. Check this out. All right. I'm going to read. They're going to be on the screen. I'm not going to ask you to read. I'm just going to read so we can go through fast. First people that get to meet Jesus are the shepherds. So here it is. And this is Luke chapter 2 if you want to look at it later. Maybe make a note of it. So they came in a hurry. Now they had just heard the angels singing, like a whole army of angels pop up in the sky, and they're singing some kind of song, and then they say, go to see Jesus. Now I would go too. And it says they went in a hurry. Now if a army of angels come and say do that, I'm probably doing that too. So they came in a hurry, found their way to Mary and Joseph and the baby as he lay in the manger. When they had seen this, they made known the statement which had been told them about this child. And all who heard it wondered at these things which were told to them by the shepherds. But Mary treasured all these things, pondering them in her heart. The shepherds went back, I'm assuming back to their sheep, glorifying and praising God for all that they had heard and seen, just as had been told to them. Can we put verse 18 back up on the board? I know I read through that I wanted to give the context. Verse 18. And all who heard it wondered. Everybody say all. All. Who did they tell? Everybody. Now, these are shepherds. They live out of the city all by themselves. They're kind of probably outcasts. They're dirty. They're smelly. They don't care. They're changed when they meet Jesus, and they just start telling everybody. They start glorifying God. They are completely changed. They tell everyone they meet. Remember that, because somebody else later in the story is going to respond a little differently. Mary, look at verse 19. Look at how Mary responds. But Mary treasured all these things, pondering them in her heart. Who did she tell? The Bible does not one time talk about Mary witnessing. That's really interesting. She birthed Jesus. She hears an angel talk about him. Jesus is there. And what's her change? What's her response? She treasures and ponders these things in her heart. There's some kind of probably worship going on there. Some kind of like, oh, God, you're amazing. This is look at these shepherds come. They're talking about angels. This is awesome. Her change is very internal and personal. But people are coming to see her, and she's like, being hospitable, letting them in, doing whatever. That's very dramatic change, but it's very different from what the shepherds experienced. All right, next, and I'm going to skip past a whole bunch of verses to get to the next one. Verse 34 says, and Simeon blessed them. Now, after 8 days, they take Jesus to the temple because Jewish tradition was that you get the baby circumcised and blessed. Okay, after 8 days. For some reason, I don't know, it was 8 or 9 days. But for some reason, after that long, they go and they do this as a religious ceremony. It's very similar to how we do baptizing for babies or dedicating babies. At Father's House, we dedicate babies. Some churches baptize. But this is very, very similar process, okay? And when they get to the temple, they meet this old guy named Simeon. And he's like really old. I can't remember how old he is. You can look it up in Luke chapter 2. All right. And Simeon blessed them and said to Mary his mother, behold, this child is appointed for the fall and rise of many in Israel, and a sign to be opposed. Simeon's response is he gets excited, he worships, he glorifies God, he blesses Jesus, he blesses Mary, and then he prophesies. Prophesies is telling the future or giving a very targeted word of encouragement. That's not something that everyone can do. It's the way that Simeon was changed. Then very next couple of verses, I think verse 38. Anna. Anna is a prophetess. She lived at the temple. She worshiped at the temple, hung out with all kinds of religious people. Now remember, the religious people are all looking for Jesus. It says at this point, at that very moment, she came up and began to give thanks to God, continued to speak of him to all who were looking for the redemption of Israel. Anna gives thanks. Simeon blesses and prophesies. Anna gives thanks, and then it says, look at that, it says, speaks of him to all who were looking for the redemption of Jerusalem. Remember I said the shepherds told who? Everybody. Anna doesn't go out and tell everybody. Anna tells people like her. That's an interesting point to me. She is waiting for the redemption of Israel. That is Jesus. She was waiting, looking for Jesus. And she then goes and tells everybody else that's like her. Now this is an important point. The change that needs to come in your life might be that you need to tell everyone that's in your life. Or it might be that you need to be a very strong, bold witness in the social group that God's put you in. Now, every one of you is going, oh, that'll be me, the group that I'm with. Yes, that one. Okay, it doesn't work that way. You know in your spirit what God wants for you. It might be easy. It might be right where you are. It might be very, very difficult. It might be like the shepherds. Hey, listen, you got to get out of here. You got to tell everybody. So don't just assume the one you like is the one that God is going to do in your heart tonight, the one that God's doing in your heart in your life. You will be changed. That is what will happen. You're needy. You're accepted by Jesus if you humble yourself, and you'll be changed. Okay? The change could take any different type of form. All right. There's another part of the story. It's in Matthew chapter 2. Okay? This is about a year later, so we don't know exactly how long, but it's later. And this is where the wise men come in. So we got some verses about the wise men. All right. And they're called magi. There's debate about whether they were kings or philosophers. What we do know is they were from far away. Okay? So the verse will say magi, but it's wise men. All right. We got the verse up here? Good. Here we go. After coming into the house, that's the wise men, saw the child with Mary. Now, the reason that I know this was later is it says they came into a house, not the little manger scene. Okay? So it's later. It's somewhere else. They saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell to the ground and worshipped him. Then opening their treasures, they presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, myrrh, having been warned by God in a dream not to return and tell Herod. Now, the way this worked was they're from far away. That's like they're from like China. They fly here because they hear it's going to happen here. They want to find Jesus. So they go to the head politician. They say, hey, where's Jesus? They're from far away. They don't know this place. Herod freaks out and goes, oh my gosh, there's a king going to be born here. I want to kill the king. So he tells the wise men, well, go, here's where Bethlehem is. Here's where Jesus probably is. This is what this is where he's supposed to be. But when you find him, come back and tell me. Okay? Now, the wise men, they have a couple of significant changes here. Now, they're visiting politicians, rich people from far away. They are a very, very similar social group to Herod, the guy who says, I'm going to kill Jesus. Okay? So, what's their response? We all know that they gave gifts, right? Everybody knows that, and we'll probably, see lots of videos or stories, or if you go to, little, not probably vintage 1947, but some of the church plays, you're going to see, the little three wise men giving the gift. And you guys can come up now. And we all know that part. But here's the more significant part. They risked their life not going back to Herod. Herod gave him a command. You don't do what the politician says, in that culture you get killed. So now we got all kinds of responses here. We got people boldly witnessing to everybody. We got people, sharing it with just their own group. We got people doing every kind of different thing in response. Worship, giving gifts. We got people doing I don't know what it is that your change is going to be. Only you do. But it's going to be different from who you are right now and who you were. It's going to be different. The only person in the story who didn't like Jesus was who? Herod. And he's the only person who didn't actually go and see Jesus. That's interesting. He's the only person who didn't get to know Jesus. His first reaction was, screw that. You may be here going, I'm not into that Jesus thing. That makes you're going to be the Herod. I'm saying give Jesus a chance, because every single person in the Bible who met Jesus and accepted that he accepted them was changed by him, was different, was better, was fulfilled, was not needy anymore. Started off by saying that you were all needy. You don't have to be. But the only place you're going to get that need satisfied is in the person of Jesus Christ. So we got a thing to think about. Each of you are at one of three places. You're either still needy because you don't know Jesus, or you know him and you haven't quite accepted that he's accepted you, or you need to be changed by him. And as I've been speaking, one of those 3 points has probably rooted itself in your spirit and probably is kind of tugging around and making you uncomfortable, and that's awesome. You should be uncomfortable. That's okay. We are going to sing a song here that we've sung before called Like an Avalanche. Okay? And in this song, every one of those 3 responses is there. I'm going to read you some of the lines. Starts off, beautiful God, laying aside majesty. You reached out in love to show me life and lifted me from darkness. That's needy. You may be needing to right now be lifted out of an abusive environment. You may be needing to be lifted out of a hurtful place, an angry place, a hating place, a place where you're giving yourself away, a place where you're using to find satisfaction. I don't know what it is. You may be in the needy place. When that line comes on, sing that to God like you got nothing else going on, because I'm telling you, you don't have anything else going on. There's nothing more important than surrendering your neediness to Him. A little while later it says, despite all my pride and my foolish ways, I'm caught in your infinite embrace, caught up in grace like an avalanche. I've been listening to this song all week. It is so incredible. God's grace is like an avalanche. An avalanche comes down out of the mountain with unstoppable force in pursuit of the end. And God is an unstoppable force pursuing you. He accepts you. You may be in the way. You may be saying, I'm not going to be accepted. And when you hear those lines, that's what you're going to sing out, maybe a little bit louder. If you need to be changed, if you've accepted that, but you're kind of still a different person here than you are out there, okay? If that's you, the end of this talk says, take my life. Take all that I am. Forever I'm humbled by your love. You need to sing that one out a little bit louder. And if you feel like you have really been pursuing God hard and you fully accepted Him, then I want to ask you to be praying for those people around you that need to dig into God a little bit deeper, that need to lean in a little bit harder, because God is wanting to do some serious business in lives tonight. Because we are needy people. Every one of us needs Jesus, and will never rest or be satisfied until we have accepted that He accepts us, till we're changed by His power and His grace. So we're going to sing this through a couple of times, and when you feel that that's your line, I want you to sing a little bit harder, lean in a little bit deeper, push forward a little bit more. And if you're uncomfortable, that's okay. If you're uncomfortable by these words, that's probably the words you need to sing a little bit louder. I'm going to pray, then the band is going to take over. Lord, I just ask that right now you touch the needy hearts that need to surrender. I ask that you let those who are holding on greedily to accept that you accept them. I ask that you will change us and let us be changed by you, by your grace. Holy Spirit, come into this room as we sing these songs, as we sing these words of this song. Let us surrender completely to the avalanche of your grace.